Hello everybody, my name is Jaden Mount, and sitting down with me today is the Vice President-elect of the Student Government Association, Kayelani Kirschbaum. How you doing today, Kayelani?
I'm doing good, how are you?
Good. So, now that the election season is over, what have you decided to divert your attention to as the SGA Vice President-elect outside of academics?
Well, my academic career is very large. I'm taking 18 credit hours and I'm double majoring in biology and chemistry. So, not a whole lot, but I do a lot in SGA. I'm also a part of the L3 learning community, so I'm a PAL for L3, so I've gone to take service trips with them, and I'm kind of a mentor to the freshman students there. And so this semester has been a lot of helping them out with their transition into sophomore year and what they should be doing next in their career. And then I also do attend pre-med club and biology club whenever SGA conflicts don't coincide with those clubs. So I am half a part of them. Okay. That makes sense. I do try and participate as much as I can, but SGA, being on exec staff, we do a lot of behind the scenes stuff that a lot of senators don't really realize are on Thursdays maybe. And so doing those events as well as doing Senate and all of those things.
Now, obviously, currently you serve as the SGA Legislative Director.
Yes.
How does it feel moving from one executive position that's more of hired to being elected now into the vice presidency?
I'm very excited. It was one ticket, but I was still very honored to run with Adam and to be elected in, being a part of, being in a position where I can help direct other exec members, even though that's more of Adam's job, but being on exec, I'll be able to bring some insight to help with that, but also having a foot into the Senate side and getting to work with more senators. I think that'll be very fun and a good use of my time and my expertise in making things more efficient and being more organized, and working with parliamentary procedure is something that we do on Senate nights, and I am very knowledgeable in parliamentary procedure. Whenever I came here, that was something that I had noticed had been a semi-knowledge of, and so getting really to be more efficient and the pro that we use and things like that is actually something I'm very excited about, but I'm also kind of a nerd, so.
I don't think anybody will blame you. So in the SGA hosted debate and vice president debate that you and Adam both attended, you stated on the topic of civic engagement, a lot of people do think voting whenever they do think civic engagement, and that is something I would like to focus on because our generation is one of the lowest percentage of voters in America, and that is terrifying. What exactly are your plans to combat this apparent issue here on campus?
Right, so as the Legislative Affairs Director, that is not something that I focus as much on because I was very focused on Higher Education Day and things like that. So my hope is that through SGA we can go back to partnering with things with organizations like American Democracy Project and things like that and do more voter awareness things. We do have a lot of materials in the office to allow us to do that. And I think it would be a great use of our time because even for our election, only having one ticket, there still wasn't a huge amount of turnout. And we don't have historically a huge amount of turnout to who's voting in the student government elections. So my goal would be to work on more advertising and things like that for not only the SGA elections, but registering to vote, having it being an election season in Kansas, particularly with the new governor and things like that, encouraging students and explaining to them why it's important and trying to provide information to them whenever they don't know who to listen to because we're a generation of social media, and so they don't necessarily watch the news or read newspapers or know how to get that source of information. So being an outlet to those students and educating them on how to get that information.
Outside of the lack of information, what do you think is the biggest reason why most people in the 18 to 24-year-old range don't vote? Not only in SGA elections, but also statewide, federally, etc.
I think that's a great question. I think that's something a lot of people are debating. And so I definitely don't have one answer to it. But I think a major part is maybe differencing in opinions is a huge thing right now, and which opinion is correct and which opinion is incorrect. And I think our generation has or our group of people, not necessarily our generation, has a really tough thing with themselves of not wanting to make a wrong decision. And so I think a lot of them cop out with I don't want to vote because I don't know if this is the right decision for what's going to be happening. So if I don't vote, then I'm not the one making the wrong decision. Instead of using that right to actually choose an option that what they think could be beneficial for later.
Okay. So diversity has become a major topic of conversation in just about every aspect of life here in the United States, especially on college campuses. In your opinion, how is SGA representing and promoting the concept of diversity?
One thing that I think SGA does really, really, really well is our whole goal is to represent constituents on campus. So we do a lot of work with recruiting from other organizations that are on campus that might be more culturally diverse, so that way they can be a representative for their constituents. But we also do, I think, a good job at working with diversity and inclusion department to talk about things that are coming up, such as like whenever the DACA thing came out and there was some legislation about that. As a Legislative and Political Actions Committee, we worked with the diversity and inclusion to see how we need to be there for students, what students. Obviously, we can't read it out to students of DACA because we don't know who they are, but how can we be supportive to those students and show that we care that they're on campus, because Fort Hays does have a huge DACA population. And so other diversities, including like disability and things like that, SGA has worked with the veterans to get them to a free football game on campus. We work with multiple departments to try and let them know that they are represented by us on campus, even if they don't have a representation in our Senate, but something that we would love to have.
Okay. Have you envisioned any improvements to this representation or promotion?
I think we do have quite a few Senate seats open still, and I think the best way to represent those students is to get those Senate seats filled, and with people that touch multiple aspects on campus, like the diversity on campus. Not necessarily culturally, but all of the different aspects we have on campus, all the different majors, things like that, that is diversity. And then I think another thing that you and Adam talked about was starting relationships and things like that, and I think having stronger relationships with the student orgs will then in return allow us to improve diversity in our organization and to help with the support of the other organizations on campus.
Outside of the fact that the SGA funds student organizations, why should student organizations be even interested in engaging SGA in other ways?
I think SGA has a unique opportunity to talk with faculty and to have and with the management and administration on this campus. And so them being in contact with us allows us to be a voice to talk to what they want done on campus and what they need on campus, and to talk to administration and things like that, and to allow them to be in contact with us. We can help them do that. The point of SGA, in my opinion, is not necessarily to be a programming organization as far as putting on all of these programs to help, but to be a support to the student orgs and to the students, and if they need something, that we can be a help to that.
So the platform devised by you and President-elect Adam Scheibe promotes keeping Fort Hays affordable to all students. Outside of promoting the use of open resource textbooks and lowering the need for third-party platforms, are there any additional objectives you have envisioned to achieving this goal?
I think as a student government organization, one thing that we can do along with open resource is be advocates for our students in budgeting meetings. With also legislation that is going on right now, unfortunately there are probably going to be a tuition increase, but as representatives for student orgs, we can be in those meetings, we can advocate for either a lower increase to what they need, or can we cut costs here instead of cutting them here. And so we're paying in a different way, so students aren't paying it, but maybe other people are, or we're supplementing in that way. And so a student organization can be the voice for the students in those budgeting meetings and how to help with that. Another thing we do work on is fees. And being the vice president next year, I will get to help with the Legislative and Political Actions Committee, which is who looks at our fees. And so through that, we do have a lot more people applying for our fees because there's a lot less funding in higher education, but also working to keep those costs low. I mean, if you compare our fee cost to any other regent school, they're much, much lower than any other regent school in the state of Kansas. But it's also something that we need to make sure that we're not just like, oh yeah, because we're so low compared to the other regent schools, we can just keep adding fees, because that's not what Fort Hays is about, and we're working on keeping it affordable for all students.
Okay. And on and off campus involvement has been said to be one of the most important building blocks for future student success. How can a typical college student who's just here to take care of his or her classes and to get through college with his or her degree be involved with SGA outside of holding a legislative or executive position?
Yes. So we do have some programs. I said we're not a programming organization, but we do have some. So we do like the big event and things like that. So that was something that'll continue next year. But also things that we encourage students to do is to apply for appropriations. We do fund trips, like if you're in your academic program and you have research and you're going to present that research. One thing SGA does is we can provide funding for those trips and for those mileage and that registration. So that's another way that you could get involved with SGA on campus. If you do feel like you want to, the typical student that you're describing to me isn't one that really wants to help out in a volunteering way, like to come and volunteer for us or something like that. But there are ways that they would interact with SGA on campus, and ways that we hope that we can allow those opportunities to be more available and more noticeable for students on campus to interact with us.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting down with us
Yes.
today. If you'd like to learn more about Ms. Kayelani Kirschbaum or the Student Government Association, check out our website, YouTube channel, and stay in touch with our social media. Thanks, guys.